Hey folks, Jimmy here, aka Palette of the Dead. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to the latest issue of Warhammer 40k Imperium magazine. Now, as per usual with all these videos, if you like them, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and of course, drop a comment down below. Love hearing back from you guys, and it goes a massive way to help the channel too. Now, this week we're on issue 30 of Imperium magazine, and this is a paint issue. So, no minis, but two pots of paint. We have Mournfang Brown and we have Mephiston Red, both pretty handy to have. But yeah, not much more to say about it. It's not as really a saving on two pots of paint that are relatively cheap, but both handy base colours, which is always pretty good to have in your range of paints. Into the issue itself, we are greeted by the Adaptus Mechanicus and their cohort roster. So, when the cohorts of Mars go to war, they do so to defend the Imperium and uphold the honour of the Red Planet. Now that your Martian forces have grown in number, it is time to record the unique names given to each and every unit in your Adaptus Mechanicus battle maniple. So, we've had a breakdown before of how the Adaptus Mechanicus organise themselves in their military kind of regalia. So, you have the good old MacLeod, which is broken down to 4 cohorts comprised of loyal Skitarii soldiers minus battle servitors, bristling with destructive weaponry and other terrifying mechanical abominations. Each cohort is known primarily by its number, which is displayed prominently. Some have earned nicknames and honorific titles due to their exploits, and yeah, you can basically generate all of this type of stuff as well, which is pretty cool. If you're into your Adaptus Mechanicus, you can always utilise these name generators for other units later on, if you really wanted to. Entirely up to you. You can find websites where they have Adaptus Mechanicus name generators, same with your Necron name generators, and also everything to do with Space Marines, just as a battle. The entire lot, basically. You can find a name generator online for no matter whether you're playing Age of Sigmar or 40k. But yeah, entirely up to you how you want to go about doing it, or if you don't want them and you want them to just be nameless, entirely up to you, really. With all of that, of course, you've got space to list all the names as well of each unit. So, for instance, your Tech Priest Dominus, which is that cool little guy, which I must admit I'm still part way through. Your Tech Priest Engineer, which we get in a few issues' time. The Skitarii Maniple, which you literally name the maniple, give the maniple name, and it has the Skitarii Alpha as your kind of lead. And your Cataphron Maniple as well. So we are getting Cataphron Destroyers. We get the first one in 2 weeks' time, which will be pretty cool. Good. If you get multiple issues, it can be made into the Cataphron Destroyer Breacher if you wanted to. So you have 2 options, entirely up to you which one you want to go for. Personally, I think I'm going to stick with what the magazine's giving and not go for the Breacher route at the moment. But, you know, I might be tempted to get a second copy. Who knows? But yeah, really good stuff. And it adds a bit more to your game, which is a main thing for it. Makes it everything a bit more unique. Then we have the Ultramarines successor chapters. So, successor chapters are basically the chapters that are splintered off from a first founding chapter. So, Ultramarines are one of the biggest first founding chapters and has the most successors of all of them. So, with these successor chapters, basically they may all have their own culture, methods of making war, but they all can trace their genetic lineage back to a single Primarch. In these cases, it is the Ultramarines' Primarch, Reboot Guilliman, who we will be getting much later on in the magazine's life cycle as well. But yeah, really good. If you haven't painted any Space Marines and you're building the collection, you're just going to go for it in one go, this could give you some good ideas of which kind of chapter to go for. So, for instance, you could go for the Nova Marines, who are one of the eldest and most storied successor chapters in the entire galaxy, noted for their absolute faith in the Codex Astartes. You could go for the Silver Templars, hailing from the world of Novaris. The Silver Templars are weapon masters without compare, which is always good fun. Hawklords, which favour the use of heavily armed gunships and are renowned masters of aerial combat. You can have the Howling Griffins. Few chapters have won so much renown as the Howling Griffins. They are veterans of some of the most brutal campaigns in the history of the Imperium. The Scythes of the Emperor, who were nearly obliterated by the Tyranids, and the Scythes of the Emperor benefited greatly from the Ultima founding and have since been reinforced by new generation of Primaris Space Marines. The Iron Hounds, who are based on the planet Uranus, who are staunch allies of Ultramar, when I can learn to speak, and they're pretty cool, and they've fought alongside the Ultramarines quite regularly. We have more on the other page though. We have the White Consuls who value diplomacy and wise governance as much as martial skill. In the wake of the Great Rift, their chapter planet Sabatine was consumed by a warp storm. The Aurora chapter, these green armoured warriors known as the Aurora chapter, are masters of armoured assault, so very, very vehicle friendly, more than anything with them guys, which is pretty damn cool, and they have a lot of tanks apparently. The Liberators are amongst the most brutal and uncompromising scions of Guilliman. The Silver Skulls are highly superstitious. They believe the Emperor himself guides their deeds and only take to the battlefield when the omens are deemed favourable, which is quite unusual for Space Marines. There is the Genesis chapter, which were the first Ultramarine successor chapter to be formed in the second founding. So there are the Black Consuls, who are utterly uncompromising, following the teaching of the Codex Strates to the letter. Praetors of the Orpheus, who are famous for a disciplined approach to executing the Codex Strates. And the Iron Snakes, who hail from the frozen ocean planet Ithaca. They have a tradition of hit and history, naming each and every squad after one of the founding leaders of their chapter. So, pretty cool stuff. A bit more information about different successor chapters, which is always really quite nice as well. So, if you do want to paint up extra Space Marines, you could always go for one of these colour schemes, and you have a little bit of backstory behind them as well. Then we have information about the Necrons, which is all about the Novak dynasty. So, before biotransference, the Novak dynasty was infamous for its long and elaborate blood rituals, and for the savagery of its army. Though no longer beings of flesh, the Novak legions retain their thirst for blood. So these guys are pretty damn cool. I quite like the Novak dynasty, although I'm not even painting them. These are the ones with red shoulder pads, and kind of they go for a bit of a red army. So mostly metallic and red kind of colour scheme. Really, really kind of cool. I do quite like them. The idea of them and the fact that they are very kind of bloodthirsty is quite interesting as well, which is always really, really good. Then we get more history and lore about the remnants of a dark age. So, the Imperium of the 41st millennium is a deeply superstitious realm. Technological innovation is viewed with fear and religious disgust, stemming from the horrors of the past. So, the majority of mankind attributes the operation of technology to machine spirits that must be beseeched with the proper rituals of activation and appeased with blessed offerings. The Adaptus Mechanicus possess repositories of technological lore, yet even the tech priests see no difference between a blueprint and a holy relic. So, technology has advanced so much so that religion has basically spiraled out of control, and technology is kind of viewed as a bit weird. Kind of like how, in all honesty, advances in technology were sometimes seen as witchcraft in medieval times, in all honesty, in real human history. So, really, really cool stuff though, and it gives a bit of information about why everything's so kind of weird, and how some things are really, really advanced and some things aren't really that advanced at all within the 41st millennium. And we get some information about the explorator fleets, who of course go off to find new relics and find new blueprints and technologies and rediscover old technologies as well, which is really cool. Then you got a how to paint guide. So this is updating how to paint. So we're utilising your Mephiston Red and Mornfang Brown. You can follow all these guides, you do not have to. If you wish to, in all honesty, mixing a little bit of Morvank Brown with Mephiston Red gives a deep red kind of colouring, which you can utilise later on if you wanted to, and you can utilise it into a different kind of colour scheme, especially for things like books, which make them stand out a little bit differently and make them pretty cool and unique. And you can also utilise it to make the darker insides of cloaks, for instance, and stuff like that, if you wanted to. Entirely up to you, though. But either way, following this guide, you're going to get a pretty decent looking model out of everything. Just, yeah, it's just entirely up to you how you want to go about doing it. If you are going to paint up stuff in brown, Agrax Earthshade and Nuln Oil are your friends. They will help greatly with adding depth and even a bit of warmth to both colours. Then we get data sheets for your Skorpek destroyers and the Canoptek plasma site as well, giving you more information about them, so explaining on the rules and everything that you're going to need for utilising those Necron units. And we also get the tutorial of how the evasion protocol works and infused madness as well for those units. Then we get some more details about the core rules. This is core rule part 4 and all about your battle round. So your command phase, your movement phase, your psychic phase, shooting phase, charge phase, fight phase and morale phase. That's a lot to go through. But you are going to need to know a bit about all of this to get through everything. So it'll go through your command phase first, because that is the most important first part to your cycle to do with the battle phase. Keeps you going, but really, really good stuff. So, not too bad. And then we have our battle plan for the week, which is no mercy. So with this, you will be utilising, on the side of the Necrons, 1 Overlord, 10 Necron Warriors, 3 Skorpek Destroyers and 1 Canoptek Plasmacite, going up against your Ultramarine, 1 single Lieutenant, 5 Assault Intercessors and 3 Aggressors on your battlefield, using 3 containers as well. And it is all about kind of dominating the battlefield and kind of controlling the 2 defensive positions that are in between your containers. Have a bit of fun with it, I'm sure you'll enjoy it, but really, really good stuff, not too bad. Next week though, we have issue 31 and we get terrain. Not too bad, bit of good bit of scenery, having a ruined building. It will look pretty cool. You can utilise this in many ways. You can utilise it in your game. You can utilise it if you wanted to make a armies on parade. You can utilise it to help display your army later on if you wanted to, but really, really good stuff. And issue 32, as I say, we get the first of our Cataphron destroyers, which are pretty cool. And as I say, if you pick up a second copy of that issue, you will be able to make a Cataphron Breacher, which is also a pretty cool unit. So definitely worth looking out for, keeping an eye on and having a bit of fun with. But really, really good stuff. And that's it, really. That's it from me. I will catch you next week or sometime soon. But for now, thank you very, very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye now.